You're listening to the Endless Party Radio Show with the Doc on Colossal Radio.
Doobie Brothers and song called Blackwater. Love them all, man. Love them all. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce you to this guest that we're going to bring on the show, and I've been very fortunate to be able to interview a lot of absolutely rock and roll greats and Hall of Famers throughout the course of my career, and this is another privilege, really, to be able to touch base with this guy that traveled with the Doobie Brothers for like 20 years, and I'd like to introduce you to Guy Allison, that was with the Doobie Brothers for a long, long time. Guy, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you very much, Doc. I'm doing really well.
Where?
I don't know if you know, but I literally just flew back from a 2-month tour in Japan, so I'm still dealing a little bit with jet lag.
I'll bet. Yeah, I'll bet.
I literally woke up at 3:30 this morning and went, okay, I guess I'm up now.
Where does Guy Allison call home? I'm
in California, Southern California, in a place called Calabasas.
Okay, so you're still there, where it all began. I mean, there you are. I mean, you're there in Los Angeles, California. Guy Allison, keyboardist for the Doobie Brothers from like I think it was like somewhere like mid '90s to like 2015, right?
96. I came on in the summer of '96 and left at the fall of 2015, I believe.
Yeah. Was there?
I think it was 2015.
Was there a reason? I mean, that doing other things like where?
There was. Well, what happened. What had happened. I'd taken a tour that took me to Japan just for a couple of weeks,
mm-hmm.
and it was really supposed to be a break in our schedule. And it turned out that they added a few more dates, even though I had planned this about a year in advance. And by the time I came back, I worked with them a little more, and they had worked with. I called up Billy Payne, actually, and asked him if he could fill in for me.
Mm-hmm.
And once I came back, and Billy had been playing there for a little bit, and it just felt like it was time for a change.
Right.
So I went in a different direction, and they asked Billy to stay on.
Yeah, and that's.
And it had been at that point. It'd been nearly 20 years.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Was that good? Was it a good was it a good thing, or kind of like what the heck went on here, or was it all kind of like mutual? Was it a good split?
In all honesty, it was a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things where really, then after I thought about it, it was like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Right. It's I don't know. Is it the nature of the beast? Is it the good and bad of the business sometimes that we hear so much of all the time? And I'm not saying it in like you said, it's not in a bad way. No disrespect to the guys and the Doobie Brothers and the band itself. It's just, I mean, you certainly had a hell of a run, that's for sure.
Yeah, they ended up going in a different direction in a lot of departments. Around the same time, they broke ranks with their booking agents. Their manager, who had been there, Bruce Cohen, who had been there since the beginning, they had changed out front of house mixers, different personnel in the band. One of the drummers was gone. So they switched a lot of things all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the things that had changed. And those things happen.
Absolutely.
They just happen. When I look back on the career that I've had, the fact that I have consistently been on the road, employed in the rock and roll industry for the past, 30 plus years.
Yeah.
35 years, I guess.
Right.
That in itself is, that's a blessing. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these things happen. I've been with a few different bands, and sometimes sometimes you leave, and sometimes they change. They change courses.
Right. No,
And that's just the way it works.
That's the industry in itself. I mean, and talking about other bands too that you've worked with over the years. Certainly, Guy Allison, most notably as a keyboardist for the Doobie Brothers, for a long time. And speaking very kindly on behalf of the entire band as well. Awesome that we're able to get this interview with a guy that has played with anybody and everybody in the rock and roll world. But other associated acts, you had Moody Blues.
That was one of the first major hired gun positions for me was the Moody's, and then I was. I had known the guys in Air Supply for a while, and they kept asking me if I was recording with them. They kept asking me if I'd go on the road. And I was with the Moody's at the time, so I couldn't. And then my schedule opened up, so I was with them for about another, maybe 7 or 8 years.
Oh, you were with the Air Supply.
Yeah.
Wow, and I knew that going into the interview. The question I did have on that when you were with them, and I don't know where that time frame falls, but a station that I had worked for with an entertainment venue right here in the Pocono Mountains in Carbon County, PA. Was a place called Penn's Peak, and I know Air Supply has been up there and booked there at Penn's Peak. Were you with them then when they were there? Maybe.
Circa 1990 through 90, part of 96.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that covers. I know we used to play up at Wilkes Bar a lot.
Yeah.
And in Philadelphia, I know we played in Philadelphia.
Right.
I'm trying to remember where else. I tell you, a lot of this stuff turns into a blur after.
I hear that, man. I don't know. My whole life has been based around, making a living out of having a party, man. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, I've been pretty blessed. I mean, sometimes I look at this job and I don't know if it's a curse or a blessing. But
I got to tell you, it's kind of the same on the road. I mean, you get in there and you want to do the best job you can, and all that, but after a while, it becomes a moving party.
yeah, indeed. Yeah,
a rolling party.
Yeah, indeed it does. And I've been on a couple of those party buses. I've been very fortunate. But it's one of those three monkey things: see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. and I learned that a long time ago. Maybe that's why I'm invited back on a couple of the buses over the years. And it's like, all right, Doc's cool. He's good. He can come in.
Well, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, doesn't it? And you would know. See, and you would know. But Guy Allison, formerly of the Doobie Brothers, for a long time. I got to give a shout out to Dale, who's on board with us as well. His all-time favorite band, the Doobie Brothers, and great to have him joining the show as well. So, Guy Allison, where did it all start, man? I mean, where did it all start? Were you a young lad? Did you drop out of school going,
No, I mean, well, listen, I wanted to. My brother had a band, and my brother's 13 years older than me. He had a band that was playing in Hollywood in the late 60s, and he was on the stage with people like the Byrds and the Doors. And,
oh, wow.
And so I looked up to him. He was doing that whole scene back when the Whiskey and the Aquarius Theater was called the Hullabaloo back then, and I was just a little kid.
Right.
I loved it, and I wanted to do what he did, so I asked my parents if I could play drums, and they got me a snare, and that lasted for 1 week. And the noise that I made with that, my dad said, no, we'll give him a piano instead.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
So that's basically what happened there, and I didn't get my first little garage band until I was in high school, and I was playing jazz in the band at the school, and then playing in this garage band, doing that type of stuff, and that leads to other things, bands and bar bands and that type of thing, and then I found this really great bunch of guys that I joined the band, and we tried to get a record deal in Los Angeles, and it took us a while, but we did, and we caught the attention of the guys in Toto. We were at a rehearsal studio, and they heard us playing, and Jeff Porcaro actually came into the room, and he brought the rest of the guys, and they're all going, "You guys are great. What label are you on?" We said, "We're not on a label. We don't have a deal." And David Page said, "Well, we'll help you get a deal," and they did.
Wow.
The band was called Logic, and they helped us get a deal on A&M Records.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, everything starts to snowball a little bit. Even though we lost our second option, after the first record, we had opened up for Supertramp, for a few dates, and we had a little experience under our belt, and I had enough nerve in me to try to audition for the Moody Blues job, and I got that. And once you're in one thing, something else falls.
Mm-hmm.
They see you somewhere and they go, "Hey, can you do this?" So that's basically how that works.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Where I have now, and I brought up their website, like I said, talking fondly of the Doobie Brothers, obviously, and all good. They have they're into a 50th anniversary tour.
Oh my God!
I mean,
God, those guys are old.
Yeah, we're not. But how did it all come together? I mean, with you being there, almost right, certainly from the start with the Doobie Brothers. Like, how did the culmination of all you guys? Certainly,
Well, okay, now the band, and I reminded them of this all the time. The band, they were a big band and a mainstay on radio when I was in junior high and high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to let them know, "God, I love this song. I listened to it when I was in junior high."
Mm-hmm.
But they had retired in 1982,
right?
And then the band came back together with a kind of a version of it that Michael McDonald wasn't involved with. So it was back to Tommy and Pat, and, Mike Hossack and some of the original guys, and they came out with a record, and they had success. I'm guessing it was either 88 or 89. So then the band was back in the scene, and I was playing that tour that I just said I came back. It was a Japanese artist, big artist in Japan, that I was hired to play his shows starting in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I met John McPhee and Keith Knutson and Willie Weeks on that gig.
Mm-hmm.
And I had done those tours year after year, even while I was touring with Air Supply. And that was how my association with the Doobie Brothers started. It was through John McPhee and Keith Knutson.
Got it.
And then they asked me in '96 to come do some work, do some retracking on a live album. And after I did that work, they said, "We want you to come on the road with us." And I said, "Well, I'm going to Australia." I had a month with Air Supply on the road there, and I said, "After that, I'll be able to come out with you." So I basically left the Air Supply thing right after that tour was over and went right on the road with the Doobie Brothers. And through that association, we made some records. I made some more records with them, and actually had the privilege of being a co-producer on one of the albums.
Yeah.
So it was a long and really creative relationship that I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah. It's amazing. They are certainly a staple. I think the one that you co-produced, the one album that you co-produced, I think was what do I have here, man? And I just lost it. The guys giving me all the notes. The 12th studio album, what is it? Sibling Rivalry.
That's right, Sibling Rivalry.
Yeah, and
which and I actually I don't think the album quite saw the light of day, but I really did enjoy working on that, and I thought we came up with some really good material on that.
Yeah,
and I was mixed. It was brilliantly mixed at Capitol by Elliot Shiner, and it just sounds great to me.
Yeah, you know what I find interesting, and something that you brought up just in conversation with you guys in the whole rock and roll world, if you will, and so many of you that have mentioned this and others that I've talked to, that the word and the genre of music, jazz, comes up in your repertoire so much, and in conversation so much with so many of you people. That jazz.
I don't doubt it at all. I mean, especially from this age group.
Yeah.
Because there was a fusion between R&B and jazz and rock, especially in the 70s.
Right.
And where you can see that the most is with a band like Steely Dan.
Yeah.
And you can certainly see the line of R&B and rock and country, and to a certain extent jazz being fused with the Doobie Brothers as well.
Right. No, for real. And I often talk to another good friend of mine who you might know from, I can say now, our era, and actually from, and I know that kind of like dates is like whatever. I can still outdrink most people anyway on rum and cokes, and so that's all I can tell you. My lifestyle would kill most average men. I mean, to some degree. However, it doesn't come without years of practice though either. But another friend, and you might have crossed paths, maybe, but he's certainly right here from, our town of Lehighton, PA, and I often bring him up in conversation, especially when there's people out there in and around the LA area, and who was a drummer for Paul McCartney and Wings, Denny Sywell.
Oh, I don't know the name, but anybody who plays with Paul McCartney is a hero of mine straight away.
Yeah, Denny is a family friend. The Sywell family continue to be just great friends of ours and our family, and know them well. And Denny, being with Paul McCartney and Wings, and a drummer there, and master drummer. And
what years was it? Was it in the 70s era?
It was in the 70s era. That it was before they actually went on their world tour that Denny, had, again, along the lines, and I'm not getting into the politics of it all, that they parted ways for different reasons. So
it was before Wings Over America.
Yes. And, he was... Live and Let Die. It was from that era there, and that song with Denny on drums right there on that song.
Okay.
Which,
I just, to me, that's a dream gig right there.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Hats off to him.
Yeah, I think it was a dream gig for him too. When we often talk about it, and he's due to be on this early part of this year again from L.A. That we'll have Denny back on the show. But great ties right here to the. To our area right here in Carbon County. But Guy Allison, formerly of the Doobie Brothers, just hanging out, man, being very real. And I don't know, this is how I approach an interview, with absolutely no questions at all. I don't do it that way. I like the realness, the authenticity of people like yourself, when we can, shoot the shit for a little while and get people a real feel. What was it like to be in the band? Was it a lot of fun? Were there parties? And where does Doobie come from? Because I don't want you to, I don't care if you have to lie on behalf of the Doobie Brothers and Michael McDonald and all the guys and John and Tom.
Oh.
Where did it come? Tell me it just came from cannabis. That's all I want to know, if it came from cannabis.
I don't know what the I don't know what the party line is these days from those guys, but it would be silly to think anything otherwise. I mean, obviously.
I would think it's like, I don't know. What are we going to call the band? I don't know.
A doobie is a doobie, and they got named in 1968. Let's just say that.
That's what I mean. It's like, how else would it happen? You're sitting there going, I don't know the name of the band. I don't know. Let's just call it the Doobie Brothers here. Pass.
Yeah. I think somebody else gave them the name. They had a different name, and somebody from, I forgot whether it was from Moby Grape. It might have been from Moby Grape. I heard was somebody said, with all the doobies you guys are smoking, you might as well call yourself the Doobie Brothers.
That's hilarious.
Don't quote me.
Exactly. I'll back that up in case the guys from the Doobie Brothers, and there's a lot of people that end up on this show or go back and listen to the Colossal Radio YouTube channel. So as a disclaimer, as Guy just said, he's not sure. I'm not sure either. But I can also say that's what I think it's from. And I'm going to stick to my story. So that's all I can tell you.
Right.
But, I'm
It
sure.
cannot be confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. It's not be confirmed. I'm sure there were great memories. What does,
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any memorable moments, though, for you guys? Something that maybe was crazy with all of you guys when you were in the band for 20 years with the Doobie Brothers, who are still on the road?
We had I tell you what, the gigs are great. When you're playing the shows, and the interaction with the people. And
Yeah.
You remember some of the, some things for various reasons. One time, I know we played let me see, I think it was some type of anniversary for Harley Davidson, big open festival thing, and I don't know how many. Some people say there was 500,000 there, some say there was 200,000. I don't know.
Wow.
But we were on the bill as the opening act, and the closer was Elton John. And it was a surprise, and oddly enough, I don't think the Harley fans, they thought maybe it was going to be, I don't know, the Stones or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't give Elton as warm a response as one would anticipate for a star of that stature. And I remember sitting just 20 feet away from him on the stage, the backstage, watching him do the set. And he turned to Nigel, and I remember he said, he mouthed, "Kill me now." and I'm a really big Elton John fan, and so that was such a pleasure for me to, we took pictures with him and we hung out and we, and I watched the show, and it was just amazing. And I remember thinking, this is so fantastic. It sounds so amazing, and he's like not having the best time up here.
Yeah, that's crazy. Isn't that funny? They're fun stories.
But, there was a lot of good times. I mean, I remember we did a show with the Doobie Brothers where we did our own show, and then we were the backup band for Willie Nelson in a show in Hawaii, and that was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Doing all these Willie Nelson songs, and the very first show I played with them, it was the Doobie Brothers playing a birthday party for a big soap star, and I cannot remember her name now.
Okay.
Really big, like the biggest of biggest soap stars in New York. Michael McDonald was on the gig, and we were the backup band for Sam and Dave as well.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was a lot of Susan Lucci. That's who it was.
Oh, Susan Lucci. No kidding.
But we did a lot of things that were memorable, and we had a lot of fun in the studio.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun on the buses.
I'll bet.
For a while there, the buses were just a roar. You get a combination of people, and you have a good time after the show.
I'll bet.
Driving to the next city. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs.
I'll bet. When you woke up in the morning, was there ever somebody that came out going, "Oh my God, how the hell did she get on the bus and now we're in another city?" I mean, then you had to get her like a plane ticket back. I mean, did that ever happen?
I cannot comment on that.
It's like, how'd she end up here? I don't know, but we'll get her a plane ticket back. That's okay. It's all right. That is
I just can't remember. I could tell you a lot of times. You say wake up in the morning. A lot of times we went to sleep at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
It was that type of thing because you're so amped up after a show.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
right.
And your sleeping schedule gets very turned around on the road so easily.
Absolutely.
That we would consider waking up at 1 in the afternoon would be morning, and then we take it from there.
Yeah, I know, man. It's the life of.
That's so cliche, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, but it's like, man, if you only knew. I mean, I get you, man. I get it. Just in what I've done, I get it. But It's just to reflect back on all this. Guy Allison, formerly of the Doobie Brothers for 20 years, keyboardist and on the road with these guys, and great memories. And Doobie Brothers continued success is getting into a 50th anniversary ride, and great for them. And you guys can find Guy Allison on the website. Just punch it in, you'll find it on a search, Facebook, all over. Easy to find, and background information.
You can find my picture at your local post office.
Yeah, I know. Mine is in there too. I know. I know. Just probably in some third world country, I'm hanging there too, no doubt. And probably
wanted for something.
Yeah, exactly. And
I kid.
That's and then somebody trying to pin a child on me or whatever, and it's like whatever. What's Guy Allison up to next? What's next?
Okay, I have been. I had a band. In and amongst all this hired gun activity that has been my life, with these different bands, I've pursued, my own record deals, and I've had a few major deals actually that for one reason or another, timing and personnel didn't have quite the success I had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the bands that I got a deal with on Interscope Records, a band called Unruly Child. We have made subsequent records on a few different labels over the past 20 years, and we completed last year our 10th record as that band.
Wow.
On Frontiers, which is a label that's an Italian label that they pretty much absorbed all the acts from the 80s, like Foreigner and Yes and Toto and Pat Benatar and whatnot. But I think we might do another record for them this year, and I'm making a record for myself, which is an instrumental. I've never done it, and it's going to be a jazz influence thing. And I've never done that before, but I'm calling on favors from some of my session friends,
right,
across the globe, and especially here in Los Angeles. As a matter of fact, Mark Russo, who is still one of my very good friends, sax player with the Doobie Brothers, is featured on it as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So I keep busy. I have a studio. I keep creative. I keep busy, and I still go on the road. A couple 2 to 3 months a year, and even at this advanced age of 60.
Yeah, you're young yet. I'm not too far behind you. It's all right. We're young yet. Nobody could do what we do and live to tell about it. That's what I say. But
it's a Peter Pan existence.
It is a Peter Pan existence.
The music industry is about pretending or just defying age at all costs.
Right. Indeed. Yeah, what the hell? Look at Keith Richards. I can't even believe he's still standing on stage. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a guy right there. There's Peter Pan himself.
Yeah, that's absolute Peter Pan with a shitload of wings.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you know what? But when you do what you do, and you become certainly successful at it, or not, and you love what you do and do what you love, it is just. It just becomes second nature. It's what you do. But humbling, and I look at it all the time, being very humbled to be able to do what I do from a radio station, something I started up, and doing radio for 30 plus years. I've been.
Oh my God, well, congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. A couple of guys have said that I had on the show, going 30 years behind the mic. It's like, what else are you going to do? Right? Like, what else am I going to do? I don't know.
Well, listen, that's the whole thing. I remember, I got a little story for you.
Go ahead.
My high school band, which was actually, we had a lot of great players that became pros that came out of my high school band. But when we were kids, we had been invited to play a jazz concert in it was in New Orleans, as a matter of fact, and we went on first, and one of the musicians that went on after us was Tom Scott, great sax player from the 70s, who you heard on so many records, Paul McCartney's "Listen to What a Man Said" and Carole King's "Jazz Man," and
nice,
and a lot of pop records. He found his way to a lot of pop records, and we were watching his show, and about 5 of us cornered him after the show in the halls backstage, and we said, "How do you make it in this industry?" And he said to us, he says, "Okay," and there was 5 of us there. We're like between 15 and 17 years old. He says, "I want you all to picture what you would do if you couldn't make it in music." And about out of 5, about 3 of them raised their hands. He says, "You guys have something that you could do?" He says, "Great." He says, "What about you two?" And I was one of the guys who said, "I can't think of anything else." He goes, "You're the ones that are going to make it because you don't have a B plan."
Right. No, right. No, for real.
And and that's the truth of it. You
Right.
really have to go in and saying, "You know what? It's this or bust. I don't care whether I make money or I die trying.
That's right.
This is what I'm going to do."
Right.
And that's how it works.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. You're all in. I mean, if you're all in, you're all in. And then failure isn't an option. No matter what it is, then failure isn't an option. And
yeah, well, if you say, "Well, okay, enough of this. I'm going to go do something else." Well, guess what? You're not in the race anymore. And when
Right.
you're not in the race, it's you can't succeed.
That's right.
So.
No, totally agree. Any kids? What do we got with the family
I
life?
do. I have my son. I haven't seen him for 2 months. I'm going to go grab him and open up his belated Christmas gifts. He's 19, going on 20, and but he's not. He's an artist. He draws. So he never got the bug to play an instrument, but he's still creative.
Yeah, great.
He's a good kid.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Again, Guy Allison, formerly of the Doobie Brothers, doing his own thing out there in California. Like I said, I can't. I'm glad that Dave on my end was able to hook up with you and your people. If with this new project, that's going on.
I don't know if it's going to fit your format, but I'd love to send you a copy.
Send me a copy. Anything. Listen, this isn't corporate bullshit radio like they do all over the place anymore. I'm done with the whole corporate world on that end. Listen, I do what the hell I want to do right here on Colossal Radio, only because I write the checks and I own it. So I will play whatever. And if Guy Allison, formerly of the Doobie Brothers, is doing some new track and new things that he's laying down, I have no problem playing it out there. I have some of the best people I feel across this country, and many of them in a few short months that have elevated this radio station to what it is, being very real, being authentic, being different, and it is no disrespect to the whole corporate end. I've got a lot of guys that do that on the radio thing. This is a whole different concept with what I'm doing, and the realness and the authenticity of it all is maybe what has also helped elevate this as a catalyst to other places in the country with what we do on this station. And
you know what? I love that. I mean, that sounds like something I remember from when I was a kid.
Exactly. And
we used to here in Los Angeles. We used to, we were bombarded with pop radio all the time, and then there was the FM radio that would play cuts,
right,
deep cuts in the middle of the record, and that subsequently became all the songs that everybody remembers from the 70s.
That's right.
But it wasn't what the radio was playing,
Right. And
so that theory that you're talking about, that's what helped that.
It is, and we lost a little bit of that. I mean, I'm doing some of the classics from the 60s and 70s, and then doing the B-sides that people remember as well. Nobody's touching any of that, and that's where that's what I intended to do with this station by giving it a hometown feel, and having a station that is approachable. And with that was my business plan. I really didn't have a business plan. I didn't even type anything up. I just said, well, I'm just going to write a check and put a studio here in Lehighton, Pennsylvania, and fly by the seat of my ass and see if this is going to work. And that's
but it's working, right?
It has worked to a great deal of success in a short amount of time, but it's nothing I've done or built on my own. It is the people that are now listening to this interview that have advertised and are partners on this station. And
that's fantastic.
All I can do is try my best, but it's a colossal mess at times, but sometimes designed that way.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So it's
sometimes when you put out something, when you give something that's real, and you put out something that's real, it's obvious, and I think there's a draw for that. I think people like that.
That has seemed to work, and And that's my platform where, in anything that I try to do, just to be real and try to make it work with some mistakes along the way and shortcomings that I have. But, it is real. And I'm certainly not afraid to talk about any of it right here on the show. So this was, you're very humble. You can tell that you love what you do just with this phone interview. Guy Allison, formerly of the Doobie Brothers, doing his own thing. You'll hear some music on this station from Guy once he gets it to us. We'll highlight that on the show. But memories, I could go on and on and on. I mean, I can go on and on and on with the memories on the Doobies and on your career, and spanning the globe and still playing, getting back from a world tour, and where do we end it with Guy Allison on this Monday edition, the last Monday of the new year? How do we end this? I'll leave it up to you. How do we end this interview? Do we end it on an absolutely bizarre moment in rock and roll history that you ran into, like the one with Elton John? How do we end it?
Oh, a bizarre moment. I'm trying to think. There's so many stories that I tell late night in a bar. I don't think any of them would be appropriate for the radio station.
Well, it might surprise you. I mean, we're certainly not FCC regulated, but I get it. I'll leave it there, man. I'll leave it there.
In all honesty, maybe next time.
That's okay. That's all right. Listen, I'm all about it. You, Dave, will stay in touch, and who does all of our PR and publicist stuff for the station. And if when this whole release comes out with your next project that you're putting together, you want to touch base on it, I will gladly highlight it on this station, man. I mean,
I think that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, if we can do that to help, and promote what little we can do here with the people that hang out with this station, then that is a good thing. And
you know how, listen, things start little at a time, so that's not a bad thing.
Absolutely, it's all got to start somewhere, man. And I'd be willing to do whatever. And like I said, if you can jot a mental note down or a reminder or what you want to do, you can reach out to Dave. You can reach out directly to myself. You can reach out right through. Through the Facebook page or through the website and get in contact with us there, whatever you'd like. But certainly would be able to accommodate you and make some time for you on the show. No worries.
I appreciate that, Doc, very much. Thank you for your time this morning.
You bet.
And for reaching out to me. And I hope I was able to entertain and illuminate.
Yeah, I think you did well. I love the realness of it all, man. And like I said, stories never end. We can go on and on and on, but all good things.
Well, that's the truth.
All good things come to an end at some point.
All right.
Listen, Guy Allison, a great new year, continued success, and please stay in touch with us once that project's complete. Whatever you need to send us, man, we'll give it a whirl for real.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc.
All the best, man. You bet. See you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. There you are, Guy Allison, formerly of the Doobie Brothers. Really cool stuff and neat stuff going on there with that guy. Listen, we have a lot more to do tomorrow. We'll see what we can do with a couple of emails that I put out, and they got back to me. And let's see what's in store for you and me both for the coming year, 2020, tomorrow's show. So you're not going to want to miss it, all right?
Lehighton, Palmerton, Gem Thorpe, and nationwide. It's Colossal Radio. Find us online at colossalradio.rocks.